There's no doubt that the rate of change that we're experiencing now is no longer linear, but exponential. And by that, what I really want to emphasize is that within your sector, the agri sector in many ways is not exempt from that rate of change. If we go back 25 years and we look at a farm or an agricultural project or an agricultural operation 25 years ago, it's very different to what we see now. We see automation in the cabin of the combine harvester to the extent that there's very little manual input in that process. There is, you'll know these figures better than me, but certainly yields per square meter being returned back to the farm. The big data being collected right at the harvest level is essentially able to drive key decisions on that piece of land in the next season and into the future. And what we are seeing is the agricultural sector in some areas is moving very quickly and adopting and using that big data. But the vast majority of our sector, the agricultural sector, is ignoring that data or scratching the surface of it. Our intention this evening as a technology company whose history has been connectivity, IT support, is to say we're looking beyond the wire. We're looking beyond connectivity and implementing and creating solutions that will facilitate greater operational efficiencies within your sector. Some may say, what's your motive? Like, how can you be sharing some of the secret sauce in this sector? Tonight, we've got technology partners joining us. We've got a number of organizations here that in some ways compete, but in other ways complement. And I really want to focus on what we can, the life that we can breathe in to this sector for our mutual benefit. We are facing a number of constraints in the agricultural sector. Number one, increased operational costs. And those increased operational costs are not by single digits. It's double-digit increases. And that's a serious headwind. So we've got increased operational costs. We have increased competition. We have got global market trends which are way out of our control. Fourthly, we've got a lack or a reduction in skill levels within our own organizations. We have got brain drain still taking place. And that's just 4 of many constraints. I bet, in fact, tell me some more headwinds that you're facing in your particular organizations or that you're aware of within the sector. Wayne, which ones do you think some of your clients are facing as headwinds?
Competing against GM and GMO. We are GMO.
Yes.
We use the GM.
Yes.
So competing against South Africa is a big challenge.
And the market is global now. So if our costs are too high, we're just no longer competitive. Quite right. What else? Tariffs. Which ones, Christian?
Anything traveling into the US or Asia.
Yes. And are these the 2025 tariffs now that are, or are they ones that are pre-Trump?
So it's a combination of both, but now it's an existential threat.
Wow. And they're not small tariffs. I've seen they're not 2%. They 35. I don't know what tariffs he slapped on us. They're certainly not small. Double digits. And the margins are nowhere near the extent of the tariff, right? And Asia are also putting tariffs on to protect their own market? Is that it?
I think they've been much more aggressive in developing the technology to make sure that they can compete with us here.
I see. Because prior to the last 10 years or so, our operational costs were low.
And our currencies were relatively
Competitive.
competitive.
Now, dollar costs
Exactly.
and
Trading in dollars.
tight margins. There's no lack of headwinds, is there? Yes.
Skilled labor shortage.
Yes. Skilled labor shortage, interestingly enough, not only in our white-collar organizations, but even at the grassroots. I was in Marandera yesterday visiting a tobacco operation, probably relatively small. I think he's 101 hectares. But you know what his constraint was? Was labor. I said, what do you mean there's a shortage? What do you mean there's a shortage of labor? I mean, I'm in town, I run a technology company, there is no shortage of responses to CVs. But he said, on the ground, on a 100-hectare farm, he struggles to maintain a workforce during the reaping season or during the critical labor times that he can rely on, because they're moving from farmer to farmer to farmer. He said 10 years ago, I think he might have said 5, we were the only farm here. Now there's 10. And the number of skilled laborers who could reap tobacco, I guess, maybe cure it, maybe hang it in the barns, are no longer there. Quite right. Not only in our company, in our organization's white collar in town, but even on the farms. We'll talk about that tonight. It's a very, very interesting scenario that they're about to implement. I don't think I can share their secret sauce, but there are challenges in terms of skilled labor. Yes. Please remind me of your name. Gertrude. Thank you, Gertrude. Climate change. And this is not small. I mean, we're seeing it in Zim, right? I mean, everybody is seeing it. Even the non-farmer is seeing the season 1 month late, 2 months late, a month and a half late. I think this last season, 15th of November was the official start of the rainy season. When did it start? 1st of January. We really started getting rains. A month and a half, climate change. And that's just late rains, not to mention no rain or high heat units or extreme hail or extreme wind. And if we look at just those headwinds, maybe we've got 9 or 10 now, on their own, one of them, Christian, tariffs, could derail an agricultural operation. But we've got 10 headwinds. So this is what we've been going through as a technology business over the last 7 months, is what technologies can we bring to the market that can mitigate those headwinds and increase our operational efficiencies. First of all, we don't have all the answers. In fact, we don't have probably many answers. But what we do have is the ability to ask the questions like I've already done. And then we start looking at each of them saying, if we can ask that question, what answers are we going to get? And Christian, who can you ask for a solution to the tariff dilemma in your world? Who can you call on?
I don't know, Inspector Gadget.
Yep.
It's a wicked problem.
Graham, who can you call on to deal with the fact that your customers can now procure by just sitting behind his desk, opening a browser and doing a search? Who can you call on to find a solution to that? Sorry? Don't know. Gertrude, who can you call on, who can your clients call on to plan for the 2025-2026 agricultural season and get an answer that's accurate? Huh? Data? Where will they get that data? Sorry? Yep. So I don't know Inspector Gadget are the answers so far. Coralie, who can you call on, if you're consulting to the agricultural sector, who could you call on to give you practical solutions to the lack of skill in our white collar sector and in the blue collar sector on the farms? Who would you call on? Name and title, if you know. Or maybe it's another I don't know.
ChatGPT.
So we're at an age, it's unfortunate she said that, she's like taking away my, no, you're right, Coralie, that's exactly the answer, is that we have got tools in the last 12 months that we can call on to help us navigate those 10 headwinds. And I can tell from the initial answers that's not our first go-to. About 2 weeks ago, I presented to ICT Africa in Harare, and I said, the headwinds that we are facing are so existential that we don't have the answers to them, but we have the questions. And if we have the questions with these AI solutions that are out there, ChatGPT being one of them, why are we not using it? And why are we not using that as our partner in navigating and dealing with these headwinds? Because if we don't, we're not superhuman, and we're not Superman, and we're not Superwoman. But those tools, I'll demonstrate some tonight. I'm going to encourage you, those tools, which we will demonstrate tonight, will take you from just being a normal man or woman in your business with X number of years of experience to now being superhuman. And if you don't use it as ZFC, and your competitor does, it's obvious who's going to be in trouble. The other challenge we have is we have a younger generation coming up behind us, Graham. They're a third of our age, half our age, and they have come out, they were on Facebook before they were even born. What do I mean? I mean their parents took an ultrasound of them and put them on Facebook. Before they were even born, they were digital. By the time they were 6 or 7, they had a mobile device. They're digital natives. And we, in this room, with our average age of probably in our 40s or 50s, are facing the next generation, led by Jamie, who's 18 years old just behind us. She was recruited just a few weeks ago. In our effort as a business to start bringing in the younger generation to make us more and more relevant. We cannot think like our university professors. We cannot think like our lecturers from university. We cannot even rely on our 5, 10, 15, 20, 35 years of experience. Because our experience in dealing with climate change is irrelevant. Our experience in dealing with tariffs from Asia and America are irrelevant. Our experience in dealing with competition in this market, Graham, it's meaningless. Because our competitors before, we could drive across town, have a drink with them, a cup of tea or a beer or a drink or a meal, and we could work out some common ground. Try that trick with China. There is zero relationship there. They're just coming and they'll eat us for breakfast. So our experience is of no asset. Our university degrees are certainly no asset. And we have got a younger generation coming up behind us with some creative, collaborative, curious outlooks on life, which will come up with some creative solutions. So my challenge to you this evening is what and how, when can we use AI, artificial intelligence, solutions to navigate the headwinds that we are facing on a day-to-day basis? And that's the demonstration I'm going to take you through. Frampol has been a technology company. I'm just going to recap very quickly. Been a technology company in Zimbabwe for 21 years in August this year. We've provided internet services, firewall solutions, providing a very secure cybersecurity environment, and provided basically a complete turnkey solution for many companies. They would outsource their IT operations to us, and we would deliver connectivity, IT support as a one-stop shop. One company to speak to, from internet to software to hardware supply. Beyond connectivity, we've realized that AI is a key vertical for us to get involved in. Software development, critical for us to get involved in, and data science. I talked about it a moment ago. We've got combines, we've got large data being collected in there within the agricultural sector. How is it being used? How is it being mined? How is it being translated into increased productivity, increased operational efficiencies? Because the reality is, we're not going to compete regionally or globally if we don't increase these operational efficiencies and start doing things at a very intelligent level. That's a summary. Internet and IT solutions are still in our basket of products. AI and automation solutions, we're very excited about getting software to do what software does best. If that means replacing a human being, by all means, let automation and AI replace the human. Data science and analytics. Data, you would have heard, is the new currency. And if we're not taking data and analyzing it deeply and overlaying soil data, climatic data, market pricing, input costs over our data and analyzing that and extracting information that's meaningful, driving tomorrow's decisions, we're in a ton of trouble. So we're very excited about our data science division. Software development, we're at an age now where many of our solutions are not going to be off the shelf because our problems are not off the shelf problems. They're unique. Unique problems require unique solutions. And our software development team, our data science team, and our AI and automation teams work very closely together at Frampol. In fact, they're in the same room. Several of our engineers are sitting in the same room collaborating all day long because there's no walls between those three. We have got use cases already where we've implemented AI solutions in Zimbabwe. It's not hot air. It's not pie in the sky. These have been implemented already. We've got that use case. Agri equipment firm has used Frampol's IoT network to track machinery across farms. The result, fewer breakdowns, better asset use. Obviously, they've implemented predictive maintenance, uptime that pays off. We're going to go through a couple more or a few more use cases. This is my objective, is to get your minds thinking about where can automation and software development start saving our business money. We've noticed many businesses have thrown people at problems. We've got a need, who can we employ? They haven't asked, what software solution can we implement there? Human beings are required in businesses. By all means they are. But very often we're using the wrong spanner to fix the problem. We think a human being recruitment fixes everything. No. Recruitment now has huge costs behind it. Not just the salary. The HR costs are significant. They're a factor times salary. Pregnancy, leave, loans, theft, inefficiencies, sickness. Before we're even out the gates, I can mention 6 disadvantages relating to the recruitment process. Imagine if you can employ a piece of software to do that 24 hours a day. Without bias. Imagine debt collection, Brett. We've got a debt collection agent, which we are going to implement at Frampol. This debt collection agent can make 40 consecutive phone calls, talk to the customer, dear sir, dear ma'am, by name, you owe us X amount of money, your account is X number of days overdue, talking verbally, by the way, holding a conversation. Sorry, I'm busy, I can't talk now, the customer says. Oh, sir, ma'am, no problem, can we call you back a little bit later? What time would be convenient? The call will be scheduled around that time, and the conversation would pick up again, making reference to the previous call. It's not a human being making the call, it's a piece of software.
And he doesn't want to play on Facebook.
And there's no internet abuse. There's no need for a desk, for a chair, for a computer. Can make the calls 24 hours a day, obviously not because it's a phone call to a human, so it has to be during working hours. If this customer screams at them, you're not going to have your debt collector screaming back because it's trained to be polite and understanding. The conversation is fully recorded and transcribed, so there's no dispute as to what's been said. What I'm saying is that if we are creative and we think outside the box, we are able to put software in to human roles, doing jobs that humans do, but doing it much better, at a fraction of the cost, with zero HR issues.
What sort of constraints do you think there would be to AI?
Strengths?
Constraints.
Constraints. Number one, there's a training process, Brett. So number one, it's a training process. Number two, it's how do our teams respond to management making the move towards AI? There's resistance to change. And resistance to change is unpredictable because you put your head of departments in the same room. Some will be very keen, some will be very unkeen, and there'll be everything in between. It's adapting to change. That's a very big constraint. But these two constraints are dealable. You can deal with them. Thirdly, cost, the perceived cost. Fourthly, how long does it take to implement? This is going to be costly. This is going to take time. I will just employ another debt collector. It's cheaper, and I know on that day I'm moving forward. That's 4, just off the top of my head. But the reality is, Brett, companies that don't implement AI are going to be left behind by companies that do. Because AI is going to cost you a fraction of an employment process. 40 consecutive phone calls. 40. A human can't do that. You'll probably struggle to get a human to do 40 calls a day. By the end of it, they'll be exhausted. There'll be a very low job satisfaction. Before you know it, there'll be a resignation to replace them again, and then they have to learn the whole process again. If AI solutions and software solutions can make calls to your customers, and your customer will not know that cheapo making the call was actually a software agent, it's that good. What else can it do in your business? The objective I'm going to come full circle. The objective of the case studies is this: to get you thinking about where can I put software in where I would have normally defaulted to a recruitment process. Will AI replace humans, and will there be a flood of unemployed people in the market? There won't be a flood because AI is going to create more jobs than it loses, I believe. But there's going to be a resistance to change.
Why do you believe that AI is going to create more jobs than it's going to address? Where are you taking your view from?
Jaya, if we go back to maybe New York, 1913, 1923, around about there, a snapshot is taken, more horses than cars. 1 car, 100 horses. 10 years later, 1 horse, 100 cars. Technology tends to create more opportunities than it removes. It's an enabler. But at the moment of change, we don't see that. We see the risk.
I don't see this as like a storm that is just brewing, crossover between AI and robotics, where the robotics powered by AI will not take these jobs.
What we said to our team, Neil, is we said, if your job can be replaced by software, it will be. The same as what we said to the education sector. We said, if you've got teachers who are not embracing technology, they will be replaced by it. So it becomes your individual team member's responsibility to not be replaced by software. There will be roles that will absolutely be replaced by software. Right now in our own organization, we don't have project managers. That's being handled by Asana. And Asana is working 24 hours a day. It's giving us detailed reports, who's using it, who's not. And Neil, the other thing is the winds of change are blowing. And Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. It's a good book to write down, by the way. Who Moved My Cheese? Author, Spencer Johnson. It's about a 2-3 hour read. There are 4 people in that book. Sniff, scurry, hem and haw. Sniff and scurry respond to change readily. Hem and haw resist it until the cheese is no longer there and they're verging on starvation. Then they will start to be motivated to change. Those 4 people will be found in every organization, in every family, in every group of people. So I haven't really answered your question because it's a tough one, so I've tried to divert. But the reality is the winds of change are blowing. AI agents and data science, software development is going to replace people. And organizations that don't embrace it, I believe, will find it very difficult to survive into the future. Our motivation then is if our customers are not surviving, we're not surviving. So we want to make our customers operationally as efficient as we possibly can. We also want to breathe life into the Zim economy. And if the Zim economy thinks that they're going to fix all their problems with recruiting people, we are not going to scale. We are not going to scale. And that's a problem. Use case 2, precision farming and smart irrigation. This will be particularly interesting to Graham, Seb, Sean. I'm going to move on. Case study 3, supply chain and logistics visibility. Very, very important to be able to understand what that supply chain and logistics process is, because it's fraught with inefficiencies. We do business with about 500 or 600 organizations in Zimbabwe and look after about 10,000 end users. That's the scale of the Zimbabwean team. We're a team of 45 people based in Highlands, to give you an idea, solely focused on the Zimbabwean market. Our objective, before we have a look at some real life examples of AI agents, is to get you into our boardroom to talk about your particular constraints and to say, Frampol, we've got some headwinds, we've got some operational inefficiencies. Please can you talk to us about how we can possibly implement technology to address them. Don't think that you have to totally automate a process. You might take part of a process and just automate it initially. You may have an invoicing process that's taking X amount of minutes. Why don't you shorten that invoicing process by 50% or 30%? You might have a business process that you're particularly concerned about that's costing you money or is slow or is not giving the customer the best possible experience. Let's talk about automating part of that process. Your marketing. Maybe we can automate part of marketing, part of sales, part of accounting. Don't think that we have to take one human being, replace them with software 100% on day one. No, this is a process. Let's automate a little at a time. Then your stakeholders will be like, this is not as bad as we thought. I'm going to warn you, automation is addictive. Once you do a little, you're going to want to do a bit more. How long has it taken us to automate some of our internal processes at Frampol? Probably 3 weeks. Probably cost us $2,000 or $3,000.
Can you give an example of what you've automated?
I can, Jaya. So our invoicing process, we used to take 1 minute, 45 seconds to process an invoice.
Was that not automated before?
It wasn't. So it was a manual process. Of course, our invoice template was there, but there was a human being fiscalizing it, emailing it, that kind of thing, and personalizing it a little bit, customizing some things. We've cut our invoicing time by 50%. 50. You know that we're Starlink resellers. The number of Starlink customers that we brought on board is close to 400 now, between 400 and 500. That means that our number of invoices almost doubled in the last 6 months. But with a 50% saving in invoicing, we spend the same amount of time invoicing now than we did 6 months ago.
And those were AI customizations, or were those customizations on your accounting software?
They were automations that we implemented on our accounting software. Simon, He's just gone out. I don't think, Jason, did we put any AI into that? I don't think we did. There was no AI in there, but there was software automation, software development, and automations went into that. Exactly. And that's the point, Jaya, is that we didn't automate the invoice process 100%. We just did some of it. And now we're addicted. We're like, if we can do this for us, what other low-hanging fruit can we do for every other organization sitting around here? And if we make them that much more efficient, their probability of survival in this incredibly tough economy is that much higher, which means our revenue is slightly more protected, our Zim economy is a little bit more robust, those kind of things. What could we have been tempted to do? Very simple answer. Employ another invoicing clerk.
Well, we actually save the sanity of the individual at the time.
Oh, yes. And Jason, the reality is if we did employ another invoicing clerk, the job satisfaction of that person would have been low, the errors would have been higher, and it's grossly inefficient. Sorry? We're focusing on the customer experience. The invoicing clerk is now doing more customer interactions. She saved a bit of time, although the invoicing has doubled, so we're sort of in the same position we were 6 months ago. We have a software development team that will integrate with the vast majority of accounting packages that have got APIs or even able to export to Excel. So most accounting packages are integrate-toable to some extent. Our implementation timescales are measured in days and weeks, not months. To give you an idea, our own automation in the office took 3 or 4 weeks with Simon and our AI team and our software development team, 3 or 4 weeks. And it cost us maybe $3,000 to do. That would have, and we've been using it now for how many months, Simon? 3-4 months? Something like that. So yes, short answer, Brett. If you come into our boardroom and we design a solution for you, of course you can touch and feel it beforehand, but all the prices will be very clearly communicated up front. So there's no surprises. Yes, Carly.
Some people in this room who don't understand all the acronyms. What does a POC mean?
A proof of concept, a demo. Thanks. So we can come and do a proof of concept. You come and tell us what your use case is. We come and do a proof of concept because we also understand that what we're speaking about now is really bleeding edge stuff. Most people are like, I think I'm just going to stick to recruitment. In our view, good luck. Because the recruitment process, who's recruitment phobic? Well, let me ask this, who loves recruitment?
Recruitment is now, you put out one job and because of AI, people just swamp you with CVs that are AI generated and they have absolutely no value in terms of content.
100% Jaya. So anybody loves recruitment? He does now. Do you know why? I'll spend a minute telling you that we've automated our recruitment process. Frampol had to, so in January we had 30 members of staff, we now have 45. Why? Because we've spun up 3 departments: data science, software development, and AI solutions. Okay? 5 people, approximately. When we were shopping around for a software developer in November, my team said, we just put an advert on LinkedIn. I was just about to go to our recruitment agency and say, hey, we need some software developers, find the best ones and tell us who they are, we'll interview them. But one of our team had the bright idea of putting the job on LinkedIn. I think we had about 80 responses. So I said, wow, that's good, but that's created a new problem. How do you choose the best candidate from 80 CVs? We just interview them. I'm like, yeah, right. Okay, so who? Because I'm going to be roped into the interview process, right? And I really don't want to be sitting interviewing 80 people because after 3 or 4, I'm going to get really bored really quickly, looking at my watch, not paying any attention. And even if I get to number 10, I forget number 1. It's just fraught with failure. Anyway, I said to our team, we have a big problem. What do we do? Because we're not sitting and interviewing them. They said, we'll just pass the CVs through ChatGPT. I said, that's like putting the Herald through ChatGPT and finding out what the news is. I mean, you can put anything in the newspaper, right? You can put anything on CNN, anything on BBC. It doesn't mean it's true. And people create CVs with AI tools, Jaya, And I mean, it sounds like the most amazing employee until like week 1. Then you think, well, that was a big mistake. So you know what we did? The only thing we took from the CVs were 3 things. Guess what they were? First name, second name, email address. We created an assessment, a test, specifically for software development that was about 3 hours long. And we said, no problem, emailed all those people. By the way, all their responses came into an inbox. We just made some Visual Basic code. We took first name, surname, and email address, extracted it into Excel, pasted it in 1 minute into our assessment tool, which is now available, by the way, for you to use in your own organizations. We can recruit anybody, by the way, $1,500 per post. And you're likely to have a 90% success rate at the end of that. You don't recruit, you don't pay.
Neil, the tool's AI. It's AI that creates the assessment.
Yes, there's an assessment. Guess what? Those 87 people, 20 of them ran away, which was great. 60 of them participated. We interviewed the top 2 and employed him. We had 2 interviews and we employed him. Then we said to him, you're really good. Bring your friends and you're going to manage them. Guess what? They were also pretty good and we employed them too. 3 developers. We now have 4 developers in that department. 100% success rate. 100% success rate. Did the same for our data science team. Now, data scientists are pretty unique individuals. They generally don't talk to people. So if you talk to him and he's very awkward, he's probably the right data scientist. And that's what we did. Exactly the same thing. He got 97% on an assessment where the next highest was something like 80%. He was employed. 3 months notice where he was. Come. Oh, by the way, have you got any friends? Yes, I do. Are you managing him? Can you bring him in? Sure, no problem. Data science department grown. Software development team grown. 15 people employed with 0 pain. I had gray hairs and I was bald before that, by the way. And that is the recruitment process automated. Because recruitment is painful. Because inevitably, you get the guy, because you want to interview 100, maybe top 5, first 5, let's say, and we look for degrees. Oh my way. Jamie, 18 years old, just left school. No degree, no experience, but curious, creative, and collaborative. Those are the only things we want. If she doesn't ask questions, she fails her probation. We want people who are going to question everything in our organization and question why we do what we do. I said to her, what did I say to you, Jamie? I said to you, do not think like us. Whatever you do, do not come here and conform. Do not conform here, otherwise you're gone. The threat is too high. It's too dangerous to conform. In your sector, in your industry, you've got to change the way we're doing things in order to survive, because change is blowing. The winds of change are blowing. I'm going to take you through for the next 5 minutes. I'm not going to take up much more of your time. About 5 minutes, showing you our Frampol AI agent at work. In this particular scenario, fields, preparation, optimization. Okay, what crop will be grown? Tobacco. What is the expected planting date? 15th of October. Field size, 10.5 hectares. Pause, Brett. This AI agent is asking you questions. In this case, the farmer. Asking one question after another, after another, after another, compiling those responses, and then processing them. That's what's happening. Who's used ChatGPT? Most of you, I'm sure. ChatGPT, you type a prompt, that's your question, and that's it, and you push submit. Comes back with some data. Then you can question that again and question that again. What this is doing is slightly different, and this is the Frampol AI agent, fully available for your particular use case. Even if you come to us and say, There are 10 questions, 20 questions that we ask every farmer before we create a center pivot solution for them or an agricultural solution for them. We create an AI agent that farmer or your sales team can input those questions, and it'll come back and now not just answer it based upon land size, crop budget, whatever other things you ask it in order to create a center pivot. Now you ask it region, you ask it very unique things as to where that center pivot is going to be used. It then passes that data through the AI engine and spits out information that we could not do on our own as human beings. Go on, Brett. So we've put a little bit of data in: tobacco, planting date, field size. Please enter the size of each sector in hectares. Pause. Thank you. Enter soil test results for each sector, including macro and micronutrients, pH, and organic matter. Obviously, this has no way of reaching the soil, but we can easily get soil test results per sector. This is something we've been doing for a very long time. Get the results from performance laboratories or whichever lab you're going, input it in here. There we go. Sector A, macronutrients as summarized. I think this will mean a lot more to you than it does to me. Organic matter, all those things. Sector B. Thank you, Brett. Go on. Sector C, D, etc. What inputs do you currently have in stock? Isn't that interesting? How many bags of what? Go on, Brett. Thank you, pause. Here we go. I've got 500 kgs of ammonium nitrate. I've got almost a ton of compound D. Single superphosphate I've got. Potassium chloride I've got. Calcium nitrate. That's how much I've got of those things in stock for my season that's coming. What are the target nutrient levels for tobacco in this field? That's what the target nutrient levels are for tobacco in that field, in that particular area. See it processing up here? This is it now going through the whole AI process. Maybe a Simon, 15-minute process.
This one's about 3 minutes.
This one was much quicker. But it's not unusual if the query was extensive for it to take up to 15 minutes. But let's have a look at the executive report. Painful 15 minutes, eh? Not really. Look at the results. Through precision analytics and sector-specific applications, this 10.5 hectare flu-cured tobacco field will be planted on the 15th of October by correcting pH, targeting phosphorus, potassium, calcium, sulfur, and micronutrient deficiencies. We achieve, Christian, check this. Just a quick one. We've passed some data on a specific field through this. And this particular farmer is able to achieve a healthy double-digit saving in terms of estimated savings. Now, what would have happened is he probably just would have bought a whole lot of inputs just because he wanted to rather be looking at it than looking for it. It would have been stored. Who knows, some of it might have gone off. Gives him his required investment, his expected ROI. There is no doubt that this tool has made that farmer or that agri operator significantly more efficient than just doing what he did last season. Because you know what he would have done? He would have just done a blanket approach, wouldn't he? Thanks. Planting date, a summary, 4 sectors, growing season 2025-2026. You know what it's also taken into consideration? Expected weather patterns, water rainfall, which would cause leaching, into consideration. Farmer wouldn't have done that. If it was a normal season, his ammonium nitrate might have been here. If it's a heavy rainfall season, more needed. Soil analysis. Per sector, A to D, what's the target? What's the status? Micronutrients. What's the target? What's the status? It's giving him a per sector application rate. Per sector. Not just going with the tractor and averaging it out, hoping for the best. Per sector. So you see, Wayne, obviously we would then work with the experts in that sector. What are...
We do tobacco overseas and the way we do tobacco is completely different.
Of course. And that you can see as a variable. So it's a variable that we can overwrite with specific areas. And I'm guessing it might even be area specific. If we then realizing that our data is so important, we might then say what goes on in Mash East, Mash Central, Manicaland will be different. Maybe that could be, it'll drive different data. So there are variables there that we can drive and that we can control. Great question. Yes, Jaya.
Obviously, this is evolving. So my question would be, how does the engine underneath update itself? You said you found the data in a repository. Is it an active, live repository that keeps growing, developing, and not just dead storage at some point?
Yeah, sure. So basically, farms will have their own data as well. And so if we were to build a custom agent, we would actually work with the data the farmers have got.
This is called an agent, by the way. This is their software agent or their AI agent.
If you have particular data for your company, you would actually use your data inside the workflow that's been built out. It's a programmatic workflow, and we use JavaScript and Python inside there to be able to synthesize the data and do wonderful analytics with it.
Simon, there's no doubt in my mind that agronomists for the large tobacco companies have got this data readily available. And that data will be put into these engines, Jaya.
Is that purchased, or is that other farmers voluntarily feeding these databases, or is that
The farmers will not feed. We will provide these tools to whichever organization or farmer wants to use it. And that would be customized for every farmer or every organization. This, yes, Brett, and entirely white labeled. The other thing is the data that gets processed here, Jaya, because these are enterprise grade GBTs, they do not go back into the public domain. So all the data protection laws, all those standards internationally and locally are abided by.
And would this be a subscription model, or would this be a first person?
It's a subscription model, absolutely. A monthly cost for these agents. Implementation plan, weeks before. How many weeks before? What will it do? It'll correct pH. In which sectors? B and D. It's telling the farmer or the agri operator very clearly what to do. Can you imagine this from an insurance point of view? Can you imagine taking this to the bank to get a loan? The bank's going to be blown away. It's going to be like, what? The risk of this farmer has gone from here to here. Successful farmer, successful bank, successful local community, successful sector, reduced operational costs. Imagine being able to provide this to your farmers and save them on inputs. They will now spend money in other areas of your business. I know you probably don't want to see his expenditure for fertilizer dropping by 35%. But if he's going to be a far more successful farmer, he's going to grow and he's going to buy far more. It's that change in mindset, isn't it? He's going to be a far more sustainable client. And then we look at total lifetime value of the client, significantly higher, because he's going to be in operations for so much longer and have far higher yields. And imagine your competitor is not doing this, but you are. Where are the farmers going to come for their product? To the supplier who's partnering with them, not just selling him the product. Thank you. I think I've touched on it in a fair amount of detail. We can probably go through it, Brett, a little quicker. Interesting, gives a per dollar value of inventory used. Accountant will be pretty happy. Inputs, targeted. Pause there, Brett, please. Thank you. Via a targeted approach, that's his estimated input cost. Blanket approach, estimated input cost. Look at the saving. a summary of the savings, an ROI summary. Thanks, Brett, you can go on now. It'll all be fully customized and put in with the latest market prices. Fully customizable in terms of how we set up the agent. That agent, and those prices could even be updated by the organization that we supply the agent for. We give them a table and we say, just update that table and then run this. Give them everybody the latest data. Very customizable. Wayne, this is going to be a particular interest to you. Wayne, could you just give a very quick overview of the service that you offer to the agri sector, please, just so that people know?
So we are involved in geospatial data. We use a combination of satellite and drone data to process crop health reports for agriculture, for some things. Plant counts, scouting for weeds, pests and diseases, weeds. We've been learning for a year and we've been at it for about 8 months properly.
Really cool tech, eh?
And then obviously the spraying side of it, but we started on the spray. We've obviously evolved onto the mapping side.
Spraying with drones.
Topography.
Is that targeted spraying with drones?
Yeah.
Targeted.
Spray.
Okay. Isn't that amazing? So here in Zim, we have actually got drones mapping fields, overlaying with satellite data, and spraying strategically to reduce cost of those particular inputs. I remember watching just recently in preparation for tonight, a Nigerian or a West African farmer, and the interviewer said, "What is one of your biggest constraints as a sort of a rural farmer?" He said, number one, identifying the problem, and number two, affording the treatment. Hectic. He says, if I have a problem in my field, sometimes I just fill that with 10 chemicals and I spray, hoping for the best. Unfortunate, eh? Imagine how much money the guy's wasting. Imagine the contamination on the food. Imagine the exposure to all those chemicals as a farmer. Big issue. We can increase those operational efficiencies. We'll be able to compete. Go on, Brett. Analyze deep agri data. EOStat API calls, basically taking satellite imagery. It says put the satellite imagery in here, include date, include date, and a whole lot of other data that it's collected. Go on. Takes that, analyzes all of that raw data, impossible for a human being to do, and generates an executive summary. Thanks, Brett. This analysis of Zimbabwe wheat at mid-tillering shows critically low soil moisture, deficient in nitrogen and phosphorus, the rising canopy temperatures without intervention. Yield is projected to decline. Immediate irrigation and targeted fertilization can recover up to 0.8 tons per hectare. Critical alerts. Beware of soil moisture. Nitrogen deficiency is being picked up, and heat stress in the canopy of the crop. There it's giving what can be expected in terms of vegetation indices without any intervention. It's also done a soil nutrient analysis. Look what's happened to nitrogen, to phosphorus and potassium, all declining. Nitrogen levels have fallen from 23 to 10 parts per million over the last 2 weeks. Critical for tillering. Phosphorus remains below 8, limiting root development. Fertilization recommendations, telling them exactly what to do. Urgent application of nitrogen, targeted application of phosphorus, and maintain potassium levels. Action plan. Pretty clear, eh? 100 to 120 kgs per hectare, split the broadcast, 50% now, 50% in 2 weeks. Single superphosphate, applied immediately with the nitrogen, and then foliar spray.
So what data has been fed into this for these recommendations to be made for the specificity of this particular crop?
What data?
Is this from, again, the
Yeah,
repository?
this is Geno data.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, in this case, Neil, we're not using a specific field or a specific farmer. It's the proof of concept that we're providing.
Recommendations are made based on what information.
Sorry, can you pause there, Brett? Soil moisture, very clear indication of what's happening there. Canopy temperature. Wayne, canopy temperature, would that be picked up by the drone or by satellite?
Both.
Both. And they would be exactly the same. They'll be different.
That's closer to the ground.
Okay. Drone closer to the ground.
I suppose you can pay for satellite that gets closer, it's extremely expensive.
Okay. Satellite imagery expensive.
You can get suitable
Okay.
data from satellite that you pay for.
Okay.
Extremely, like 70, 80 bucks per day.
Really?
Yeah.
And delay?
I haven't investigated.
Okay. Risk assessment. There we go. What's high? What's medium? Moisture stress, nutrient deficiency, heat stress. Thank you. Go on. It's even giving a yield projection. You can pause it there for a minute. Our objective this evening is really to whet your appetite in terms of what software agents can do. How can they make you superhuman? How can they transform your operational efficiencies? These are very, very specific demos. It's not about this specific demo. What it's about is getting your imagination going to say, how can we use this concept to transform your operation? Because the way we see it, if organizations do not implement this level of software agent, they're being left behind immediately. Because there are organizations that are. Brett, we're going to pause this. It's fine. What we've got here in a nutshell is how do we find a market for our particular product? Sorry, I'm blocking it. Macadamias, right?
Yes.
Man, I've got X amount of macadamias. I need a market. Where? I think farming is risky enough.
You could put your tariff information into this to find your best market.
You could, Neil. You could overlay it with the latest news in terms of tariffs. Brett. Team? Questions? Comments?
Besides the setup or engagement costs, what are the other costs that you should expect for governments? Are they annual costs?
Monthly costs. And it's entirely dependent upon the complexity of the agent, of that particular software agent. If I was to give you a ballpark figure of what that agent would cost, probably $1,000 to $3,000 a month. In that vicinity, somewhere there. Monthly fee, Wayne. In that vicinity.
But would that allow us to then resell that?
Of course. You put your data in, specific to your particular customer, Christian. You extract the executive report, and you do with that what you wish. Our objective is entirely enabling our clients, you. Can you imagine the customer retention ability by providing your client with that kind of data?
Where does this data reside when you feed it in?
Where does this reside?
The data. Put your own specific into where is that kept?
So it's not in the public domain, Neil. It's entirely in a private, compartmentalized repository for that particular client. It's not shared with the GBT engines because they're enterprise GBTs. None of it's used for training. And we sign data protection agreements, NDAs, to protect that.
Are these offline agents that you can have as firewalls?
Yes. Absolutely. Comments? Good or bad? Useful or not? Excited or boring? What would you say? Yes.
Very useful. I'm mainly interested in the equipment monitoring and the predictive maintenance. example, sometimes your equipment breaks down during the night. You only got to find out maybe 3-4 hours later because of network challenges. And you maybe link that in real time, if it stops, and you intervene in the next 30 minutes as a manager.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
What?
sometimes you do maintenance when it's not due.
Yeah.
Your equipment may be running very low, you intervene, you introduce new problems.
Yes.
Challenges, right?
Definitely. And you know, those are very low-hanging fruits, very, very easy solutions to fix. Because you can imagine the return on investment if you're now maintaining your fleet at the right time. Downtime is reduced, errors are reduced, spare parts are reduced, all of those kind of things. Imagine you extrapolate that saving over a year, significant savings. You touched on something in terms of connectivity, things being offline. Is we're seeing that our relationship with Starlink, providing connectivity to every corner of the country, no matter how remote that particular place is, now has high-speed, reliable communications. So you integrate Starlink into the mix with these kind of solutions, even the most rural operator has got connectivity. Even the most rural or remote center pivot irrigation system has connectivity 24/7. So now IoT devices, soil probes for moisture content, flow rates, opening and closing of irrigation valves, all of this can now be done with that highly reliable connectivity, not waiting for GSM networks to be available or power to come back. And the power draw on these Starlink units is measured in 30 to 60 watts. Very small.
I need to add to that the vibration sensors we can put in place as well to predict a machine's chances of breaking down. So creating alerts, that data gets fed into machine learning, the data scientists, and they can predict when a machine's about to or need maintenance.
So based on that data acquisition, there's vibration, but then there's also probably a whole bunch of stuff that might be needed in an agricultural setup. I don't know what they use to test for soil moisture, etc. Other sensors. Do you have partnerships with people in that? Because I imagine it's quite a vertical for you guys. Do you have partnerships with people in that space?
We have connections we can work with to get into IoT. So I think there's one in South Africa that we're beginning to discuss it with, and there's one locally in Zimbabwe that can do bespoke IoT connections. So we can get the data through them.
For sure. It's incredible, Christian. We can pick up pressures in boilers, temperatures, pHs, moisture contents, humidities, whatever you can measure via a traditional analog instrument can all be done digitally now. Quite incredible. We're very excited. In my visit to Marandera yesterday was with a tobacco operator, and I said, "Man, I'm pretty sure your barn operator is sleeping at 2 o'clock in the morning, but the farmer's not. And the farmer certainly doesn't want to jump in his car and travel a few k's to the barns to find his guy dossing, you know." So I said, why don't you just have a mobile app with all of the parameters for all the barns, humidity, temperature, whatever other things they're collecting, on an app. Now, also, it's got a history. He can see the trend over the last 4 hours, and he can tweak it. He can even adjust fan speed and things like that from his mobile app. So you're quite right. It can transform it, and you can imagine the value. Some of you will know how much money can be in a traditional tobacco barn. I'm assuming it's thousands and thousands of dollars. These solutions will cost thousands a year. So cheap. But it's you as stakeholders and us as the technology implementers working together for it to be implemented. Questions or comments before we wrap up?
Considering all these things work on logic,
On logic.
yeah, how do you feel they're going to perform in a logic-free zone?
Neil, we're finding, Frampol's been going, I mentioned 21 years. We're finding that the demographic of our customer base is changing. We're now employing our customers, we're now serving our customers' children. And with that change in demographic, the farmer is changing as well. The farmer is not the cell phone-less farmer. or the Kambudzi farmer. He's a farmer with a smartphone. He's a connected farmer. He is a farmer who understands the value of data, understands the value of technology. And if we are found behind that curve, we're gone. That farmer is going to go to a service provider who can deliver that. So, although your question was made in jest, the demographic is changing. We're hugely impressed by the rural farmer growing tomatoes, using an app to find out the price of tomatoes in Mbari today, this morning, before he leaves and contracts a transporter. We're thrilled by that. Because you know what happened before? He would just throw caution to the wind, as only Zimbabweans can do, and it would arrive in Mbari, and you'd get a fraction of his price, and his crop would rot. Now he only goes if it's worth it. And that's if the rural farmer is doing that. Why is not the 100-hectare tobacco farmer automating his barn? Number one, he's too old, but his son is coming up and he understands. I thought to myself, you know, I spend a fair amount of time in the air between Harare and Kariba, and there is this beautiful area called, is it Alaska? Is it this area just close to Lion's Den? Is that called Alaska? It's Alaska, right? And I flew over that fantasizing about owning one of those 50-hectare center pivots. And I came home to my wife and I said, how hard can farming be? I'd probably very hard, I believe. But I thought, no, man. As long as I can put like a minefield and an electric fence around it and I can avoid theft, I'll just automate that center pivot. I'll so go and see Graham and I'll get payment terms over 100 years and I'll get a 50-hectare center pivot and I'll automate every single thing I can automate on that farm. Everything. How hard can it be? And you know the reality is that if farmers automated what they could automate, I bet you their risk of operation will drop significantly. But like you and I are recruitment phobic, I think they're technology phobic. But the winds of change are blowing. I don't own a farm in Alaska and I don't have a 50-hectare center pivot, and he didn't give me 100-year payment terms. But the thought crossed my mind that if I could automate farming, how hard could it be? I bet you I could take the sting out of it. I'm not saying it'll be a walk in the park. I'm not saying every year will be profitable. But I bet you I could produce yields that are predictable. Team, that's it from us. I hope tonight has been a really useful spend of your time and has ultimately got your creative juices flowing, in that anything is possible you can automate anything in your business. And we'd be very happy to hold your hand through that exploratory process. The Frampol boardroom is open. We're based in Highlands. You can contact us. You've all got our contact details. Come and meet us, come and talk to us, and let's explore what's possible. Thank you very much, everybody.